Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 3 is here, and I'm going to go over my top 12 quarterbacks for this week. These are my rankings for you to help you with your season-long fantasy leagues. A little bit of a departure from what we do on the main channel, where we talk about daily fantasy all the time. This is more for your season-long leagues. If you have start-sit questions, it's very simple. Start the guy that I have ranked higher. We're going to keep it that simple. If you say, well, I have the guy that you have number 4, and I also have the guy that you have ranked number 11, which one should I start? The guy who's ranked 4. That's the guy you should start. I'll try and keep it as simple as possible for you guys so that you can have easier decisions to make in your friends and family leagues so you guys can beat your idiot friends this weekend. So let's go.
He's a legend.
The Week 3 Smiz Gang Listener League is posted. $10, 3 max entry, $40,000 in the prize pool. 10% of that is going to go to first place. 10% of first place is going to go to 10th place. And it filled early last week. Smizzle.tv/links has all the links that you need to our charity fundraiser, to all my socials, the live Twitch stream where I'm live 6 days a week, and the Listener League. Best Buys, which comes out every Thursday on ESPN Plus. All of my content is available for you to click right down the list. Click, 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 click on the link tree, smizzle.tv/links, and I would suggest that you enter early as it's going to fill. The best tournament that exists on DraftKings, absolutely no rake. 100% of the money that comes in terms of entry fees goes right back out in terms of payout to the Smiz Gang and everybody else, and I will shout out the winners on the recap stream every single Monday right here on the Fantasy Football channel. As usual, we'll kind of zip through the first 5, right? So, like, we know who the top guys are. I don't need to spend much time telling you that, once again, Josh Allen is going to be your number 1 quarterback on the week. Every single week, he's probably going to be in this spot. Well, he's going to have a bye week at some point, and then he won't be my number 1 quarterback, but I'll probably still put him there. He'll be the number 1 quarterback emeritus at that point. Just an absolutely ridiculous player. 4 touchdowns against Tennessee, 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground against the Rams, 33.48 DraftKings points in week 1, 32.68 in week 2. And like, you can't be concerned about anything, especially the matchup. He goes against Miami, who has a better defense than in years past, but like, they struggle against premium quarterbacks, as we saw in Lamar Jackson last week, and Josh Allen has a history with them with multiple passing touchdowns in all of his 8 career games against Miami, and not to mention he also has averaged like 53.8 rushing yards in those games. He is the number 1 guy on the list this week, and honestly gonna be that way most weeks. Jalen Hurts is right behind him at number 2. Hurts basically has just been steamrolling everyone. All of the hate that was headed his way, all of the doubt and disruption that people had, and questions they had. Well, I don't think he's going to be in the league. He's not going to be their quarterback. Philly doesn't like him. They want to replace him. They want to go with somebody else. They did everything that a team is supposed to do when they have a young quarterback on a rookie scale contract. They provided him with better pass catchers. They drafted Devontae Smith. They went out and got A.J. Brown in free agency. Now you can't double Devontae. He gets to run against man-to-man coverage on the other side. A.J. Brown does fine against premium primary cornerbacks on the other, and having to have a safety over the top. In his first 2 games, 24.72 fantasy points against Detroit, 37.02 on Monday night against Minnesota. 300 passing yards. He completed 84% of his passes, threw for a touchdown, ran for 2, 11 rushes 17 rushes in week 1, 11 rushes in week 2. If he's going to average over 10 rush attempts per game, he just has such a ridiculous floor with those rushing yards, including an expectation of like half a touchdown on the ground every week, even though he scored 3 so far. Just tremendous usage, the perfect weapon in fantasy football when it comes to playing a quarterback that gives you a high floor and a high ceiling. He comes in at number 2, and Lamar Jackson is right behind him. We have another situation with a running quarterback. Guys, quarterbacks that provide you any sort of value on the ground are going to get boosted. It's a cheat code. It always has been. It's the Konami code, as Rich Rebar likes to call it, right? Lamar Jackson last week, if you played on DraftKings, he got you a double bonus. Threw for 300, ran for 119, had 3 touchdowns passing, 1 on the ground. This week he squares off against New England. Less of a high-scoring environment, but like, does Lamar actually need a super high-scoring environment to outscore a lot of the other quarterbacks on any slate? I would say No. Patrick Mahomes is another quarterback that I personally like on this slate. And while we're talking about liking things, why don't you take just a hot second, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell. I appreciate you guys being here all the time on the fantasy football channel. This is like my spillover channel, but I'm still providing 6 videos every single week. 6 videos every single week for you on this channel, is in addition to the 8 that we have over on the main channel. So ring that notifications bell and make sure that you get notified every time that I come out with a new video here on Al Smizzle Fantasy Football. Thank you for being here. So getting back to the video, Patrick Mahomes is who I was talking about. Indianapolis ranks 27th in terms of red zone defense since the beginning of last season. They allow a touchdown in all 3 red zone trips against them so far this season. Kansas City is favored in this one, has a really high team total. Mahomes is in a great spot once again. Kirk Cousins comes in at 5 this week. Now, a lot of people aren't going to like it. I understand. He just laid another egg on prime time, but you know what? This ain't prime time. This is at home, the friendly confines in Minnesota, a game total of 53 points, and they are favored by 7 in this one. Just one of the highest implied team totals on the week. Opponents have completed 7 deep passes against Detroit this year, and those have gone for 212 yards and 2 touchdowns. We want to attack certain defenses all the time, and while Detroit has improved their front line defensively, spending on Aiden Hutchinson in the draft, and they have a defensive minded head coach who wants to bite kneecaps and kick one butt cheek people with 3 fingers, whatever he said in preseason on Hard Knocks. Kirk Cousins is primed for a great bounce back spot here in week 3. Now, Justin Herbert, I have right behind him. Justin Herbert got injured in the last game, kind of broke rib cartilage. It doesn't sound good. Whatever happened to him did not sound very good. They have him as day-to-day. I have to rank him if he is expected to play. So I have him here at the 6th spot on my list this week. Do we have to tell you how good Justin Herbert is? He's a magician. He's ahead of like one of the best offenses in the league when fully healthy. Obviously, it takes a bit of a downgrade if Keenan Allen can't go again this week, but I would expect with the 10 days off, he's going to be ready to go in this spot. Chargers favored by 7. With a game total of 48 here against the Jaguars, this is a juicy spot. If you have Justin Herbert and he plays, you're just not sitting him. But it's my expert opinion that if you're not, if he does not play in this spot, like if they say, look, he's not ready and his ribs aren't ready to go and he cannot play, my expert advice is don't play him. We're doing a season-long fundraiser for No Kid Hungry here on all of my channels. As you can see below me, we have the fundraising goals. We've already crossed the first barrier, which was $10,000. For every $10,000 that our community can raise, you are a part of this community, I will match that $10,000 up to $50,000 from me. So you've already triggered one match. Let's get to all 5 of them. If we can do that, we will have raised $100,000 for No Kid Hungry, providing school breakfasts and school lunches and at-home care for food insecure children across America. If you're playing daily fantasy, if you play fantasy football for money against your friends, if you would just enjoy the content, or you have benefited from my content to help you win money, take a couple of seconds, go to smizzle.tv/charity. You can also find that in smizzle.tv/links and give back a little bit to this charity through Tiltify. 100% tax deductible. Tiltify will send you all of the paperwork that you need for the tax work at the end of the year. So be a part of something bigger than yourself by giving to No Kid Hungry. Thank you for your consideration. Kyler Murray is next, coming in at number 7. I'm not expecting him to have to pull off the shenanigans that he pulled off last week, where he basically did absolutely nothing in the first half and then scooted all over the field multiple times, ending the day with about 27 fantasy points on the week. This is not a, this is a good spot against the Rams. The Rams defense is really tough, but playing at home in a game where divisional opponent, this should play pretty close. Rams favored by 4 with an expected, the total is 50.5. So a lot of scoring expected in this game. You're not going to really be able to run the ball with very much efficiency against the Rams, which means that you're going to have to throw it. They're a very aggressive defense, which can work against them as they play a lot of man-to-man. And anytime you have a running quarterback squaring off against man-to-man defense, they have a heightened expectation for the rushing ceiling, because as those cornerbacks turn their backs on him, he can find spots and really get scooting down the field. Coming up next, My number 8 quarterback is Joe Burrow. Look, Joe Burrow had a really kind of mediocre game. He has been sacked a ton this year. He hit the field a lot last year behind that horrible offensive line, and he's been sacked like 3 times as much the first 2 games. It's a little bit unfortunate. We expected more out of that offensive line. But sometimes early in a season, when you revamp a line that much, it can take a while for them to kind of get their act together and start doing things the way they're supposed to. So while there have been a lot of turnovers, right, 7 in total with 3 fumbles and 4 interceptions through the first 2 games, Joe Burrow is better than everybody else below him on this list when it comes to expected fantasy points and matchup. And the one against the Jets is solid, especially if Sauce is out in this one, if they're missing their defensive tackle who left the last game. The defense is exploitable, and it's now in a spot where it might be hobbled on top of that. So Joe Burrow pretty solidified here at 8. Behind him at 9 is Matthew Stafford. The Rams offense just keeps chugging along as we thought it would throughout this season. Tough spot against Buffalo in week 1, and he did not perform. Week 2, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns against Atlanta's not as good defense as the Bills. And Arizona, one of the 3 defenses that I have kind of marked as a carnival situation for fantasy purposes. It's Kansas City, it's Arizona, and a lot of the time it is Dallas, and we saw them kind of give up a lot of yards and points this week. This is a very likely shootout situation where you have a close spread, where you have a high total, and you have at least one defense that can't stop anybody. So if the Rams give up points, this Rams offense, if the defense gives up points, this Rams offense can certainly put points on the board. And they don't usually do it on the ground. As much as McVay wants to establish the hell out of the run, they make their money, they make their bacon through the air with Stafford and Kupp and Robinson and Higbee. So 300 yards is certainly not out of the question. Multiple touchdowns, possibly 3, also not out of the question for Matthew Stafford. Behind him is the week 2 hero, Tua Tagovailoa. Now, I'm not mad at Tua. I'm not saying that this is a spot where he did well last week and we have to play him this week, but like, this offense just looks really good. Now, look, there's danger here. I get it, because Buffalo's defense is stellar, right? They get after it, just a pack of wild dogs. They can pressure the hell out of a quarterback. But on the other side of that, we have 2 things working in Tua's favor. One, Coach McDaniel looks like, honestly, one of, if not like a top 3 offensive mind in the NFL right now when it comes to putting his quarterback in positions where he can win. Tua completing over 70% of his passes through the first 2 games. Obviously, his totals are going to look skewed because the monster game in week 2 messes things up. 270 yards passing and a touchdown in week 1. But then 469 and 6 in week 2. They are expected to be playing from behind in this game, which means more positive game scripts. And when you have 2 main weapons like they have, not to mention 2 backs, Mostert is very good at catching the football, even though he has never really been utilized in that role. He can catch the football and scoot once it's in his hands. And we know about Chase Edmonds' exploits. So there is a path to 300 yards once again here for Tua, and multiple touchdowns, as they will be in passing script situations if this game goes according to the way that Vegas expects it to go. Bills favored by 4.5, but the game is at home, so kind of a friendly landing spot for Tua here in week 3. So I'm not shying away. I'm not shying away because of the Bills defense. I'm also not playing whack-a-mole. When you see the guys that are ranked behind him, they may have bigger names, but they're not in as great a spots or have more injuries to their key components in the passing game. So Tua slides in here at 10 for me pretty easily. Behind him is Derek Carr going up against Tennessee. We just saw them get absolutely shredded. Carr has been good for fantasy purposes through the first 2 games, though not entirely stellar, right? Now, this is where we get into the quarterbacks who don't run as much, right? We don't see that. And so these guys don't have the rushing floor added to their passing ability, which holds them back. All those guys up at the top of the list, like Josh Allen and Hurts and Lamar, and Patrick Mahomes is not a running quarterback, but he is a mobile quarterback and adds something on the ground. Herbert adds something on the ground. Burrow has run for double-digit yards in both of his games this year. Kyler, clearly a very mobile quarterback. Once we get down here, we're dealing more with the pocket guys, not even pocket plus guys anymore, but pocket guys. And for them to exceed, for them to outpace their rank at 11 and 12, he's going to have 3 or 4 touchdowns and 300 yards. Now, can that happen against the Tennessee defense? I mean, we just saw them get completely shredded on Monday Night Football by the Bills. The Raiders, this game, they have a team total of like 24 plus is what you're looking for from a quarterback. It's what leads to more 20 plus fantasy days from your quarterback, is when they have a team total of 24 above. Much lower hit rate when the total is 23 or below in terms of having over 20 fantasy points from your quarterback. Derek Carr is my number 11 this week, and squaring out the list, finishing everything off here, is going to be Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz has been very good through 2 weeks. For fantasy, 3 interceptions. You can say what you want about him as a real life quarterback. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't, whatever. I don't care, because we play fantasy football and we care about stats. And one of the best things in terms of quarterback stats, we may have to add this Commanders team, at least while Chase Young is still out, to our list of carnival type teams, where this is a very talented offense, where you have a quarterback who can deliver the ball and plenty of playmakers surrounding him on offense. Antonio Gibson, once again, finally, not even once again, just finally showing us that he has the ability to catch the football or be on the field in terms of passing down situations. McKissick, also very good in long down and distance and passing down situations. Curtis Samuel's being used as a Swiss Army knife, getting tons of serves. Terry McLaurin is fantastically talented. The rookie Dotson looks tremendous. And Logan Thomas, a very good pass catching tight end. There's so many weapons for Carson Wentz, and not one of them is at the level of like a Devontae Adams or a Tyreek Hill or a Steph Diggs. They're not that level, but the collection of them, the sum of all those parts, is really working right now for Washington. When you couple that with the fact that their defense has given up 58 points to their opponents, this offense has to completely stay with their foot on the gas at all times. So if I want an all gas, no brakes offense that is going to give up points this week in a revenge game narrative is just, it's really down bad this year. Revenge games have not gone well. So the people who want to play the revenge game narrative, this is one with him going up against Philly. But like, I care more about the fact that Philadelphia should march constantly down the field against Washington, which is going to cause Washington to have to keep their foot on the pedal. Hopefully they don't get down too bad. Hopefully they stay within 10 points and it's just a pinball affair. Just bing, 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 constantly. This is a great game to stack for DFS purposes. It's also a fantastic situation for your season-long leagues. If you spent a really late round pick on Carson Wentz and you have parts of this offense, it's a great spot for you once again. The defense is solid, but it's tough to guard 5 guys all at the same time. Thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.